Let us continue with a little more conceptual understanding. One of the formats of finding average speed is speed 1 into time 1 plus speed 2 into time 2 plus speed 3 into time 3 and so on divided by t1 plus t2 plus t3. We typically use this format when we know about t1, t2, t3 being the time intervals at traveled at the different speeds, right? This format S1, T1, S2, T2, S3, T3 by T1 plus T2 plus T3 should remind you of something that we have learned somewhere else in arithmetic. And the answer that I expect is, yes, this is of the format A1, W1 plus A2, W2 plus A3, W3 over weight 1, weight 2, weight 3. Hope you understand what I am talking about, that this is nothing but the weighted average, right? It is the weighted average. Right? So, is average speed, does it have some linkages with averages that we have learned? Obviously, it has an average speed, right? So, it has to be the average speed, average of the speeds S1, S2, S3. The only difference is that it's not a simple average. It is a weighted average. Weighted average. And what is the weighted average? With weights being equal to, the weights are the time interval. Let me write it in bold. It's the time intervals travel at the different speeds. Hope you are clear, right? And we know that the weighted average, if the weights W1 is, W2 is, W3 and so on, all of them are equal, then the weighted average simply becomes your simple average. Right? So if you put W, it is just going to be nothing but A1 plus A2 plus A3 divided by 3 and so on. Right? So that is also true here if we have seen that case. If the time intervals are equal, if time intervals are equal, we could say that the average speed, if there are just two of them, will be S1 plus S2 by 2, or if there are three, S1 plus S2 plus S3 by 3, or so on. This is a simple average. I'm pretty sure you know it, right? So I'm just highlighting this once again, right? We can use this in a few questions very innovatively. Yeah? Let's see how can we do that. If weighted average is there in the picture, then allegation cannot be far behind, right? So if there were only two quantities, two parts, let me call this is the weighted average. This format can be rearranged into allegation as A1 is the first part, average of the second part, average of the two parts taken together. If I do the subtraction, A1 minus the weighted average, the weighted average minus A2, we have seen that the ratio of this is what is important, and this is the ratio of weights. So the same thing, when I do it in, when A1 and A2 refer to my speeds, S1 and S2, then I can do the same process, S1, S2, the average speed, and if I do allegation out over here, I'll get S1 minus the average speed, average speed minus S2, and this ratio is ratio of time intervals, the time intervals traveled at the two different speeds, right? This is what we have just learned, that weighted average speed is the weighted average, but the time intervals are the weight. This is where the most common error happens, right? So a question that we did, example 3 in a basic session, the first session, we'll just see how we can solve it in a very faster way by using this approach. To remind you the question again, I cover part of a journey at 45 kilometers per hour and rest of the journey at 60 kilometers per hour. If I cover a total distance of 300 kilometers in a total time of 6 hours. Find the individual distances. We had solved this using equations, two types, once assuming distance as my variable d and 300 minus d, once assuming time as my variable t and 6 minus t, right, in the first session on basics. Are there again here are there two stretches? I travel the first stretch at a speed of 45 kilometers per hour and I travel the second stretch at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour. And it also says the entire journey, something is mentioned about the entire journey, that is 300 kilometers in 6 hours. So can I convert this entire journey 300 kilometers into 6 hours as a unit of speed? So this speed is 300 kilometers in 6 hours, so that is going to be 50 kilometers per hour. And could I say this is my average speed? And for the entire journey, average of these two speeds combined, right? So I can even use the average speed funda here. I just need to look at the total distance as a speed, right? Obviously, you can do it using the ways we have done earlier, but then just to try to tell you how allegation works, one speed is 45, one speed is 60, and I know that the average speed is 50. Oh, so this becomes much easier now, right? So all that will remain is I just need to do allegation. 45 minus 50 is a minus 5, 50 minus 60 is a minus 10, and the fact that they are negative or so on doesn't matter. I just want the ratio of it, which is nothing but 2:1. So 2:1 is the ratio. The problem begins here. Many of us use this ratio and divide the 300 in 2:1. Does this become 200 kilometers and 100 kilometers, or does it 2:1? Do I divide the hours, that is 4 hours, 2 hours? This is where the problem is, and hence we say it is the ratio of time and not of distance. So 200 and 100 kilometers will go wrong, even though if you have done it in such a smarter way. At the last moment, we come and we make an error out over there. Remember, if you do allegation on speeds, you are going to get ratio of time. So 4 hours and 2 hours is the correct. 4 hours at a speed of 45, that is 180 kilometers, and 2 hours at a speed, this is 120 kilometers. So this is my answer. Hope you have seen how to use allegation with speed.